The one thing that occasionally bothers me when it comes to investing in the stock market on a weekly basis is feeling like the money I'm investing isn't really making much of an impact. Trying to get wealthy and build passive income with only $25 a week feels like taking a pebble and throwing it into a huge ocean and trying to create the biggest wave or the biggest ripple effect. You may have those moments where you think to yourself, it's not gonna happen immediately, you have to be patient. And that honestly could cause you to get impatient. And then eventually you may start thinking to yourself, is this even worth it? And sometimes the thought of not having enough money to make an impact prevents you from investing in the first place. And that's even worse. But I promise you, you have more than enough money to make a financial impact than you actually think. And to give you an idea of that, I'm going to show you how I think and what I do to make my $25 a week do the best that it can. So to get into the position that I'm in now, which is still a work in progress, I had to deal with two concerns that I'm still occasionally dealing with that probably you and a lot of other investors are dealing with as well. The first one is I have a small amount of money that I'm investing and I have no idea how to invest it. For me personally, and for the goals that I have with my portfolio, I came to the understanding that every investment in the stock market plays a specific role. For my goal, there are two rules, and I'm gonna introduce you to two different stocks. One is called NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a tech-based company that's in heavy with semiconductors and graphics cards, pretty much anything technology-based that has to do with everything technology-based at the same time. And considering the path that the world is going to with AI and other advanced forms of technology, NVIDIA, if it isn't now, is going to be one of the most important companies ever. And you can really see that when you look at its capital gains chart. Over the past 5 years, it is making some serious profit for those that were able to invest in early, and it gives you the mindset that if you invest into it now, years and maybe decades from now, you're gonna get a lot of money in return. So that is what catches your eye immediately. But on top of that, it happens to pay a dividend. It's not the biggest dividend, but it's a dividend, so it's not bad. Now let me introduce you to another company that plays another role called Verizon Wireless. It's also a publicly traded stock representing one of the biggest phone companies of all time. I'm pretty sure when the Android phones came out, Verizon was one of the first, if not the first, to roll it out. Even though it's so popular, if you look at its overall capital gains, it doesn't really give you the greatest feeling in the world. This is not really a company that you feel like you want to put your money in if you're trying to have your money multiply itself over the long term. However, if you check out that dividend yield, which is, I believe, at about 7% right now, and it's been 7% for a good period of time, that gives you a lot of excitement to have those consistent high dividend checks come out, especially because it's easy to make that amount per share because the share price isn't super high, and it has been fairly consistent, at least for me. So these two companies play a different role. One is more capital gains based, and the other one is more dividend based. My personal goal is to have a portfolio that benefits me in the short term and the long term. The short term with the passive income with dividends, and the long term with the overall capital gains. And with understanding the goal that I want to benefit in the short term and the long term, I can actually determine those two different roles that I was talking about, and I can also determine how I take that small amount of money and invest it every single week. Maybe I want to add towards my overall capital gains portion of my portfolio, or maybe I see all the dividends I'm making every single month and I say, hey, I want to make a little bit more. I really do my best to have my portfolio support my happy medium. And you might be someone that wants that happy medium when it comes to their investment, so you're really not having to think that hard like I am. And if that's somebody like you that wants a stock that is great in capital gains and also great at a dividend yield, then here's one piece of advice that's pretty difficult maybe, but this is something that I tell a lot of people when they ask me. Invest in your lifestyle. Honestly, it's something that I say a lot now, but seriously, at least from my experience, I was so surprised to see that every type of company that was around me and that I was somehow involved in, whether I used their products or didn't, or shopped with them or didn't, was a publicly traded stock in the US stock market. What surprised me even more is that those stocks also paid a pretty nice dividend while also having a lot of long-term growth experience. So that's definitely just something to keep in mind. So great, now you probably have more of an idea of how to take that small amount of money and actually invest it, but maybe you're still just stuck with this second concern of, is it even worth it? Is this small amount of money even going to do a lot for me? And honestly, that's completely fair. That's a concern that I have a lot when it comes to investing the amount that I invest. It's something that I personally struggle with because with my small amount, I have to remind myself that it's a slow and steady process, but sometimes slow and steady is extremely annoying. I really wish I could sit here and tell you about, hey, here's how my portfolio pays me $100 every single month, or here's how my portfolio is paying me $1,000 every single year, every single week. But that's just something that I'm working towards. But in the meantime, I'm just in a position to do my best to stay motivated. And staying motivated has been a success for me so far because it's allowed me to build this portfolio that I built over the past 5 years since I started investing back in May of 2019. And since then, I've been able to build a portfolio that in the first year paid me about $77 in dividends. The second year jumped up almost double and paid me a little over $140. Third year, it paid me about $189, which was last year. And this year, I'm approaching 260, almost 270, and hopefully gonna get to 300 in annual dividends for the end of this year. For what I've seen with a lot of other YouTubers, I personally feel like $25 isn't a lot. And for a lot of you guys, even you may not think that's a lot, but you also may be on the other side where you feel like with my financial situation right now, I'm not really comfortable with investing $25 every single week. And that's perfectly fine because investing anything is absolutely better than investing nothing at all. For example, exchange traded funds is a type of fund that's essentially a basket full of stocks. It's like investing into a bunch of different stocks at one time. And it's something that I recommend to a lot of my friends and family when they ask me, hey, I'm investing for the first time, what should I jump into? Just so they're avoiding all the time that it takes to do research on a stock. And VOO is one of those exchange traded funds or ETFs. It tracks the S&P 500, which is basically some of the largest US based companies. Let's just say you invested $1 every weekday into VOO or $5 every single week for 52 weeks and for 5 years. Once you got to that 5-year mark, you would have a portfolio that would give you over $300 in returns on your capital gains. It would pay you $15 every single year in dividends. And just in case you're not comfortable with that, let's just say you invested at least $1 every single week. That's $52 a year for 5 years. You would have a portfolio by the end of that 5th year that would pay you over $80 in capital gains. It doesn't feel like a lot of money. It may not feel like it's gonna make you rich because it doesn't, but you should be proud of it. And you should be proud of it because that's more money than not making any at all. And just for you that are still feeling like, I'm not really sure, just answer me this in the comments below. What is your money doing for you right now? So whatever you're able to invest, you might as well do it because you're putting your money in a position to make you more money no matter how much money that is. And hopefully you can review your budgeting and see if you can spare at least a few dollars to invest in the stock market so you can go ahead and start making those capital gains and start making those passive income checks despite how much money you're investing. And that's why I'm proud of the portfolio that I've been able to build over the past 5 years. And even with investing $25, I'm still making enough money in passive income to actually pay some of my bills, whether it's every single month or I have to save a little bit and pay it every single quarter or semi-annual or annual. It's still really crazy. That's the reason why you and I do this. Just the thought of everything you can do with that passive income is just crazy. And if you want to get an idea of what I've been able to do despite only investing $25 a week with that passive income, then make sure you check out this video. It's going to break down all the bills I've been able to pay, and more importantly, the mindset change I had to make to even get to that point. But I appreciate you watching again, as always, and until next time, take care.